Brandon Marshall is here. What a weekend in the NFL. So happy to have him as my guest. It had it all. History was made, dramatic finishes, controversial finishes and plays as well. We are breaking it down with B. Marsh plus Matt Hamilton live in studio. He made the trip. Look at the hammer a little love. There we go. Hammer cam. I got zebra pants on. Let's do it. Wild. Week 15, like my pants. Wild. It all matches. It all fits. Welcome to the show. Up and Adams. Happy Monday to everybody. An NFL record. 12 games come down to the final possession. 12 games. Listen, we had our Up and Adams holiday party. Brandon Marshall was invited. He didn't want to come. That's fine. We'll get to that in a minute. But we all went as a team of producers. And I thought, I was looking at one of our producers, Owen Reynoldson. And every time he had another drink, I was like, he can't possibly be more entertaining than he is right now. And then he'd have another drink, and it would get better, and the show would improve. And so I really liken that to what this NFL season has been, because even just that 12 finish, unbelievable what's going on with these games this weekend. But last weekend, I said it was the best week ever. And the week before that, I said it was the best week ever. So this NFL season, ipso facto, what so have you, is the Owen Reynoldson of the NFL. Does it kind of make sense? I don't know. I think it does. Listen, we also got some answers, and I love getting answers. That playoff picture when things are loopy and gray, and like you got to use your number 2 pencil with the eraser on the back, I don't like it. I like Sharpie vibes. And here's what we got. 6 of the 14 playoff teams got decided. The Eagles, the Bills, the Cowboys, they punched their ticket to the offs to the postseason. And then the Vikings, the Niners, and the Chiefs, they lock up their division titles. And did Mahomes is the MVP? I'm sorry, Marissa. Marissa, if you had to cast your vote, you would still vote for... I mean, I love Jalen. I don't think you can. I think it's Patrick Mahomes' game, and everybody's just playing in it. All right. We want to start with a rematch of what was a nightmarish tie between the Giants and the Commanders. And this time, the Giants defense finished the game. There was a goal line stand involved, and New York beats them 20-12. And let's take a look at what this shakes up in the playoff picture. The Giants move up a full game on Washington. They hold the head-to-head tiebreaker there. Then they're also a game and a half up on Detroit and Seattle. The Commanders, they're clinging to that final wild card spot, but the Lions and the Seahawks, they're right there breathing down their necks, just a half game back. Like Hamilton's breathing down my neck to execute this show perfectly because he stayed up all night working on it. But when it comes to this game, this was and I think I've said this before too, biggest win, biggest game of Daniel Jones' career as a Giant. And the numbers, they might not jump off the page like you might think when I'm saying that sort of thing, but he made some really big throws in key situations to move the ball on this number 4, by the way, ranked Washington Ron Rivera-led defense. And look at this 4th down play. Here we go. Daniel Jones, he's not tripping. That's his biggest highlight. Big game, big win. And look at that. Richie James, he keeps the drive alive. He leads to the touchdown that put the Giants up 14-3. That's brilliant football right there. That's what you want to see. And the defense was phenomenal, by the way. Kayvon Thibodeau, we talked about him all offseason, all draft process. He goes to the Giants, and we finally see this incredible breakout game. 12 tackles. He had the strip sack that he recovered himself for a touchdown. I can't imagine that's easy to do. But this was all about Daniel Jones, and this was that moment. He gets the Giants one step closer to the playoffs in a season where no one gave them a prayer. A lot of, Dable's going to improve the team. Nobody gave them a prayer for the playoffs or any success, or that Daniel Jones could potentially be the guy for this franchise. And all of his receivers are banged up. They're all injured. And so I do think Daniel Jones deserves to get a little bit of credit. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later this week. But to break down this game and everything that was crazy and fun and entertaining that happened yesterday and controversial, we bring in all-pro receiver, the I Am Athlete architect, and Brock Purdy's #1 fan, Brandon Marshall. Good morning.
Good morning. What's up? First, before we get started, I always got to do this to you. Got to throw a loop in there. I didn't come to the holiday party because you keep calling me a guest on the show.
Oh. So you want to be a family member, co-host? What would you like?
Guest host.
Guest host. I'm into that. I thought you were going to say we didn't invite you, in which case your friend Richard Issacow failed miserably, because we would have loved to have you at the holiday party.
Guest host. Let's do guest host.
Okay, great. Somebody fix the copy for next time Brandon comes on. Guest host, Brandon Marshall. And I'm so happy you're here.
And who do you have in studio sitting in my seat?
Matthew Hamilton. So Matthew Hamilton was with me from my first day. You guys can show him from my first day at Good Morning Football. He is, in my opinion, the most brilliant mind NFL-wise and football-wise. So he's here feeding me nuggets.
Hey, I'm a poach you right here on live television.
Nope.
You want to come work on I Am Athlete?
No, don't. No.
Let's talk.
You can work with me.
No. You cannot take him. No, stop.
I'll give you a call. I think Richard has your number. I got you.
That would happen to me. You finally decide to come to hang out with me and my show, and then you go to, I wouldn't blame you, though. I'm Athlete's taking over.
Kay's better.
Can I
Kay's
come work
better.
it?
She's easier to work with.
That's not true. Can I come work it? Can I come work
You're
it?
Ellen? Are you Ellen DeGeneres over there?
Oh, my God. No, I'm not. But I love you, Brandon Marshall. Let's talk about this. Giants win. Where do we stand on Daniel Jones? I don't know if you think I'm making it too much about him, but do you think he's done enough for the Giants to bring him back next year?
Right. So our guy Hamilton will understand where I'm going here. Last week, I was able to do a little bit of work on the Giants, right? Because I know this question was going to come up on Daniel Jones towards the end of this year if they weren't having a success, right? Obviously, over the last couple of weeks, they haven't gotten it done. When you break down this team, Kay, please tell me what's going on with the right tackle. Can you please tell me what's going on with the offensive line? Kay, I like Kenny Galladay. Like, I like him a lot, but he hasn't showed up since he's been there, right? For several reasons, not just him. There's some other factors as well, given, the quarterback and, last year, and then also offensive coordinator last year. I don't know what the heck's going on this year, but who's the number one wide receiver, right? Mm-hmm. Which also makes me talk more about Odell Beckham Jr. coming in and helping out. But look, outside of Saquon Barkley, I just don't see the help, right? So when you wanna judge this kid, you have to also look at who's around him. I think they find a way to get it done with him this offseason. I don't know what that looks like. They are already passed on his fifth-year option. But this guy can play ball. I like him and Brian Daboll together, but can we please get him, some help at the offensive line position? Look at those couple games where they struggled. I mean, he didn't have a second to throw the ball at times. Guys were right in his face on a 3-step drop. So before we can judge Danny Dimes, he needs help.
Okay. He
looked great last night. They got the win. I didn't believe in them. I had the Commanders winning and winning big. And it just shows, the oomph that Brian Daboll have and Danny Dimes.
So let's play GM then. Saquon, you mentioned. Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll are making this happen with banged up receivers. They trade away Kadarius Toney. They thought Kenny Galladay, they paid him. They thought that this is going to be the guy. Number one guy for Detroit, bring him in, big-bodied receiver, lots of talent. This is going to be the guy, not the guy. So if you're the GM, are you bringing back Saquon next year? He's a free agent. You got to make a deal with Saquon. And Saquon's the one that's helping him, despite the offensive line, get it done. Or do you let him ride and bring a bunch of receivers to town? What do you do?
Yes. Hammy, really quick. Hamilton, can you look up how many yards Saquon Barkley had last night? I will say this while you're looking up what Saquon went for last night. If you look at the last couple games, he didn't have any big games. Why? Because everybody loaded the box. This guy was having a phenomenal year. He's still having a phenomenal year. But because you don't have the wide receivers on the outside to attract and pull coverage and keep defenses from loading the box, now you're going to have a Saquon Barkley struggling. No, Saquon Barkley deserves a big-time contract. If the Giants don't do it, then somebody else will. But when you bring Saquon back, you need to do what, Kay? You need to go make sure you go get Odell Beckham Jr. Find a way. Don't let him go to the Cowboys. You need him on the outside, creating those 7-man boxes, making teams play cover 2.
It's not easy with the money situation. I don't envy Joe Shane. He's got.
I know you brought that up. You brought that up last week about the cap.
Well, because I'm thinking about Saquon, and what do you pay Saquon Barkley at this point in his career? What do you pay? What do you pay for him? And then if you don't have him,
listen, I'm a player. Give him all the money.
Yeah, same. Me too. I'm like, write a check. Write the check. Okay, we have to get to this. There's some controversy that was at the end of this game that I just want to get your thoughts on, because there's a couple things. A very weird game. There was the illegal formation, and this wipes out a Brian Robinson touchdown. And a lot of people, and we're looking at it here, I mean, the NBC rules expert, he was talking about this. It's all about Terry McLaurin, who clearly, Brandon, checks with the line guy and says, hey, am I good here? And everything's all fine. And then what do you make of this?
Yeah, as a wide receiver, that's our number one job, right? Once we break the huddle, alignment is number one. So am I +2 from the numbers? Am I on the numbers? Am I inside edge of the numbers? And once we define that, then we check outside with the ref and we tell him we're on or we're off, right? He did that. He did his job. The referee didn't. That's on them. Super
weird. And then 4th and goal, the game is on the line, and you have Darnay Holmes breaking up the pass. When you're looking at this, I mean, he interferes with Curtis Samuel. I think that's pretty obvious. Is it a good no call given the magnitude of the moment? Because sometimes we look at the TV and I say, let him play, let him play. What do you make of that?
Yeah, this is playoff football, divisional game. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with letting guys play. It gets a little iffy right here at the end, right? When the guy's on your back, he's pulling you a little bit, it gets a little iffy. But for me, I would say I'm okay with this, because as a wide receiver, what I'm going to be doing in this moment, I'm going to be extra aggressive and making sure that I'm coming down with the ball. That wide receiver had an opportunity to be more aggressive. He let the DB take the fight to him instead of him taking the fight to the DB. So as a referee, I like the no call.
All right, that's Brandon Marshall. So, wow, Brandon Marshall agreeable on a Monday morning. We love to see it. Okay, we got the Lions. The Lions beat the Jets. It was 20-17. It was a thrilling game. Zach Wilson, good and bad. And if you look at the playoff picture here, this win for the Lions, I mean, they're alive. They're within a half game, Brandon, of a playoff spot in the NFC, and now they've won 6 of their last 7. They're legit one of the hottest teams in the league. Nobody wants to play the Lions. The Jets, meanwhile, are a game back of both the Dolphins and the Chargers, I believe, in the AFC wildcard race, so they're very much in this thing as well. Zach Wilson looked okay. He looked pretty good. Over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, good and bad. What did you think?
Well, so first off, let's go to the Lions. Man, the Lions is a tough team. We know that, and it starts with the head coach. Dan Campbell, I was with him when I was with the Miami Dolphins. He was our tight ends coach. I left before he got the interim job. My last cup of tea with the New Orleans Saints, he was there at the tight ends position as a tight ends coach for the Saints. He's a guy, man, that's how he was as a player. That's how he is as a head coach. That's how he shows up every single day. And that's a trickle-down effect, right? You take on the personality as your leader. He's not a guy that's going to hang his head ever. If anything, he's going to be emotional. We've seen that, the tears. We've seen the emotions worn on his sleeve. Mm-hmm. We've seen that. That shows up well in the locker room. So when a lot of people ask, like, what's happening with this team? Well, they're changing the culture, right? And it takes time. And if you had the wrong guy in that situation that's going to put their hoodie on, Josh McDaniels, when times get bad, you know, even the guy, I don't want to throw another guy under the bus right now because no, I can't do it. You look at you want Taylor to have something to tweet.
No, but I can't. You know, when the Raiders won yesterday, and I knew you were coming on the show, and it was such like a lucky situation for them. I couldn't wait to ask you about it. We'll get there though. Finish your thought.
Yeah. So listen. There's nothing spectacular about this team outside of them being a tough team, right? Right. The offense, they've been showing up all year, but they're not the Cincinnati Bengals. They're not. You know, they don't have Patrick Mahomes. They're just super efficient, right? And this quarterback has given them an opportunity to be successful. And these young wide receivers are coming along. And then obviously you have 2 guys at the running back position that can hit a home run at any time. So this is a really good offense, and defensively they're tough as hell. But if anything, I would say the emotion around this team, the mindset of this team, understanding that they are at the bottom of the NFL, and we have to fight our way out. And so I think that type of energy is what's creating this magic in this locker room.
Because it's crazy. I'm looking at them, just what they've. I mean, this team was 1-6. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about bottom, that's rock bottom. Rock bottom, they turn it around. And I love, by the way, because, I like the story. So, like, Dan Campbell's this backup tight end. And then how do they win this game? The backup tight end goes and, like, makes a play and, like, wins. I just like with everything that's going on with this Lions team. But if we go back to the Jets, I can say the same thing you're saying about the Lions. Bottom of the barrel, know they need to do something, know whatever. And it's just not working as well as you'd like it to work. What do you think of Zach Wilson? And do the Jets need Mike White back ASAP to make the playoffs? They do play short week Thursday night.
No, I think he did a good job, right? He's been on the bench for a couple of weeks. You got to understand what he had to deal with as a player. 70,000 people watching you live with a hoodie on, a towel around your head. You're the number one guy, okay? They took you over Justin Fields. Now there's a few million people watching. We're talking about on your show. They're talking about on other shows, right? There's a lot that this dude had to fight through over the last couple of weeks. For him to come in and play the way he did, I have a lot of respect for him. Now, I don't know what happened in the locker room, so I don't know how he's connecting with the guys, which is the most important part. I don't know how he's controlling the huddle, which is extremely important as well. But I think he deserves the right to go out there and play again. 100%. You let Mike get healthy, and look, let's see how he shows up this time around. But they played against, like you just said it, an extremely hot team, a really tough team, a team that got talent in a lot of places, and this was the unfortunate outcome.
I've really paid attention to what Zach Wilson said. I mean, you early in the season and early in one of your appearances as guest host here on Up and Adams talked about.
I like what you did there.
You talked about Zach Wilson and how, the whole Elijah Moore thing, and like he has to be careful. Before the whole thing blew over, before he got benched, you were the one that said, I don't know if I like how he handles things in front of the media. I think that might trickle into the locker room. You called it weeks before it happened. It's true. What are you doing that for?
Because, and I'll say it, I like to get messy, on our platform. And I'm outspoken and I keep it real. But when I made that comment on your show, you know how many people from the Jets organization called me?
No.
You know how many people?
Many?
3. Let me put it over here.
Ooh.
3 people called me.
Ooh.
And they were like, Brandon, like, we don't agree with what you said and why you said it. And I was trying to explain it. Like, if my quarterback stands up and answers the question the way he did, and it wasn't nothing terribly wrong, but it's like we got a guy that said, I'm not showing up. Right? Do we want this guy back? If we do, then we can't go out there and say, look, I know you didn't get any targets over the last 2-3 games, but I'm just going through my progression.
Right.
Right? Hell, that doesn't make any sense. How many times have we seen quarterbacks drop back and throw it in double coverage because they just believed in a guy? How many times have we seen an offensive coordinator just throw a bubble screen or a jailbreak screen or a smoke just to get the guy a touch? That's not a hard thing to do to get a guy involved. So when I said that, there was a few people in the organization upset, and then a couple weeks later this happened.
Yes.
And guess what I did, Kay?
What?
I called them same 3 people, and I
Did
said,
you?
y'all owe me an apology. Yes, of
You
course
broke
I
out
did.
the Robert Saleh receipts on them. I love that.
Yeah, but they said you know what, it's different. They felt like it was different. We had a great, healthy conversation.
Well, here's the thing, because you and I talked about this on Friday. We both agreed it's a good thing to get benched sometimes. It's a good thing to see it from a lens of sitting on the bench. And I think Zach Wilson looked a lot better. But I'll also say after the game, because he knows everyone today is going to be asking, should he start? And if they got the Jags on Thursday. Nobody should look at that and say, that's a hot team. The Jags are a hot team right now on a short week. So we'll see if it's Zach Wilson or Mike White. But he, of course, was asked post-game, all those vicious New York beat reporters saying, should you be the starter, baiting him? And I was like, oh, no. Because the whole point is you taught me to pay attention to Zach Wilson. I listened to every word now.
Right.
And his answer was, that's not up to me. My job is to watch the tape and try to get better. And I was like, thank goodness. And he had a perfect answer. And all those reporters were like, probably. And that's just how it went. And I loved seeing that out of him. So we'll see what happens on Thursday. Before we take a break, I want to ask you about the Bengals and the Bucs. So this was such a fun game. 17-zip. Bengals are down. Then they ripped off 34 straight points to beat the Buccaneers. And so if we set the playoff picture for people as we see it here, this win vaulted the Bengals into the AFC North lead up to number 3 seed. One game back of the top spot in the AFC. Yeah, overall. The story was, though, and we love the Bengals, but the story was the Bucs collapse, okay? They turned it over on 4 straight drives, my friend. Brady throwing picks, Brady fumbling handoffs. This is unthinkable. You give such good answers, Brandon. You never give me a straight answer on what's going on with Brady and Mike Evans and that offense and the play calling. Why is it not working with Brady?
It's a chemistry thing. Everything matters. Before the season even started, you had how many offensive linemen go down? That is a big deal. And even looking at the running game, my guy, Hammy, can we look at maybe at the end, all these things I'm asking you, maybe at the end of the show, y'all can say Brandon's questions and here's the answers, right? But what's the yards per carry from the running back position? You got Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I'm sorry. How did they win the Super Bowl the first year? They won the Super Bowl by saying, you know what? Let's not throw it 40, 50 times a game. Week 12, let's start running it more and then start throwing it, right? Let's have more of a balanced attack. Right now, we're asking Tom Brady to win the game. Tom Brady is the GOAT, but Tom Brady, he needs some help around him. So it's not all Tom Brady. Unfortunately, there's guys that are injured and banged up.
You're telling me Tom Brady doesn't have enough help around him, and that's why it's not working? Sometimes you need a little bit more. Sometimes when you got guys in and out of the lineup, you can't overcompensate. I mean, you can't overcome those things. Tom Brady, we've seen him do that in the past. But now Tom Brady is how old? 45, 46 years of age? And you're asking him to deal with guys in and out of the lineup? I think that's asking Tom Brady a little too much. 3.3 yards per carry, worst in the NFL.
There you go. How did they win the Super Bowl? This is simple. This is simple, okay? Listen to me,
Playoff
please
lane.
here. No, listen. You had a running game that popped late in the season. Remember, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of clash between Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. Right around week 12, I could be off a week or so, here or there. Right around week 12, they started running the ball. And then Tom Brady, he started doing this thing in the passing game. And then defensively, they were good all year, but they start destroying guys. They start running through tackles. They start demolishing quarterbacks. That's the formula for this team. Todd Bowles in that defense, top 5 defense. Are you guys getting to the quarterback, or are you guys turning the ball over? On the offensive side, can we get to that running game going? If we can, everything else falls in place. And that hasn't happened all year.
It's the O-line, it sounds like. It's the O-line.
So it's a few things.
Okay, but
you also have a receiver coming off injury, and then you have an aging Julio Jones. You don't have Gronkowski. There's a lot of things there. You know what they should have did?
I would say Mahomes is a different animal. Mahomes has Kelsey, so you can whatever. You have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Hey, all-pro receiver. You have future Hall of Famer potentially, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Really?
But is Chris still the same? Is he 100? Is he back yet?
I don't know, but it's the O-line, I guess. Chemistry sounds like a weird something. It's weird. It's weirder than it is.
Why can't the GOAT just have one bad year? Why can't the GOAT have one bad year?
I'm not saying. I think there's a confidence thing that's missing on the team too. It's one of when you're watching it, it's intangible. Like it's. Are you telling? He's not even checking to runs, like when he has the numbers in the box. He's not, and he's fumbling. Like what is that?
Listen. The GOAT can have one bad year.
Is he back next year?
You want me to create this magical
answer right
now? You're pressing me like the New York media. You're not in New York anymore. You're in LA.
Is he
like
back next year?
Huh?
Is he back next year?
Heck yeah, the GOAT. What? Yes.
I hope so.
He's coming back. He ain't going out like this.
I don't know. Is he back with the Buccaneers?
That's a great question. 50-50.
I want to ask you about this because I don't know how to feel about it, and I know that you'll help me because there are some fans, and I obviously hear a lot from Bengals fans. People are in their feelings about how Brady reacted to Joe Burrow. Did you see any of this? Okay.
Let me see. Where is he at?
Yeah.
I see
we'll
Joe.
Play it a couple. So yeah, it's a very brief handshake. Very brief.
Ooh.
But he hugged Brock Purdy last week. He embraced him. And then I want you to listen to this. This is, Tom Brady, he made it the last question in his press conference after the game. Listen.
Tom, what can you say about Joe Burrow, seeing him on the sidelines and the way he was able to rally back in that second half for his team?
Yeah, he's a really good quarterback. All right, thanks, guys.
What do you make of that?
We know Tom Brady is a sore loser. We know that. What y'all saw last week, he tried. He tried to appease us, Kay. He didn't want to go say hello to Brock Purdy. He didn't want to do that, right? And then he tried to take in a moment, being back in San Francisco. He tried to play into the media thing, right? I think that was his first time back in San Francisco in a long time, or maybe the first. I'm not sure, right? So, This is Tom Brady. This is the Tom Brady after the Chicago Bears game and how he treated Nick Foles, and we've seen this before.
But is that okay? The greatest player in our sport. I'm just asking, is it okay that he's inconsistent in how he dishes out dap-ups after the game? Yes, America.
Football players have emotions too. Tom Brady, he knows we're going to be talking about them losing today. So right after the game, he has so many things happening, so many things going through his head. He's not going to be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
He don't want to go out there and say, hey, great job, and let me walk you through some things you can do better, or I'm super excited about you. No, talk to me in the offseason. We'll talk about that then.
I take it as a compliment. I mean, he got Matt Ryan against this team, and there's no other way to call it. This team came back from a huge deficit, and you got 28-3, my friend, in this match. It's just true. Season stuff on the line. I want to show. Here's my take on this. It's a compliment. It's a huge compliment. People don't compare. Nobody says Mahomes is the next Brady. No, Josh Allen, he's his own thing. Josh Allen's his own thing. The comparison made, who's the next Tom Brady? The way he plays, all of that, it's Joe Burrow. So I think that really does play into it a little bit. I don't think I'm feeding into that. I think that exists. First time these two face each other, he gets Matt Ryan and smacked around by this kid who's going to be him, and people are crowning him for the future. But I will say, here's my take on this, and I want to show the clip, Sarushi, back there, our director, again, of the on-the-field stuff, if we can loop that. Joe cannot not look cool. I'm telling you, if this was me, Brandon, and I'm saying hi to my teammate from LSU, and then Tom Brady's in front of me, I promise you, I'm trying to hug him, trying to what? Joe's like, hey man, yeah, what's up? And goes back.
Right.
He cannot get got. Can he look like a little bit of a mess at all, ever? No. Like this, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen Joe Burrow do.
He's one of the coolest people I've ever met. He's an awesome person as well. Back when he was going into the NFL, remember, we're in the middle of the pandemic. You had the, COVID-19 hitting hard. I reached out to him and a lot of athletes to support. He supported, he donated without even question, right? Last year, going into training camp, he opened up the doors to us. He took us in the cafeteria, broke bread with us, and he gave us a great line. I said, who are you listening to in music? And he said, Gunna Wanna Wanna, right? Like, who? You're listening to Gunna? You're listening to what in hip hop? He's just the coolest dude, the way he dressed, the way he talks, his whole demeanor. I love him.
Yeah.
He's the best.
I was trying to think of the demeanor and coolness comparison to Tom Brady. That doesn't exist. Those two things aren't the same.
No, what do you mean? You don't think Tom Brady's cool?
I don't know if I think Tom Brady's cool. No, I don't.
I personally think Tom Brady's one of the coolest cats that's played football or maybe played sports, right? You got to think about this. He is the GOAT. He's not only one of the best football players, he's one of the best athletes ever, right? Tom Brady ascended to, he's up there with Michael Jordan. He's up there with Tiger Woods. He's up there with Serena Williams, right? And for that guy to treat his teammates the way he treats his teammates, maybe not his opponents, but the way he treats people, the way he conducts himself.
Do you want me to
is
play
first
that?
class.
I'm sorry. Do you want me to play that loop again of where he's yelling at everybody, or is that what you're talking about? I'm confused.
It's football. Oh my goodness, Kay. Oh my goodness.
I'm kidding. We gotta take a break after this. Brandon Marshall joins. I mean, we literally are 30 minutes in. We have not taken a break. You're a terrible guest host. We'll be back.
Keep going, Richard.
Back on Up and Adams with my guest host, Brandon Marshall, saying he got 5 minutes for us. So let's get to it. We have to talk about the Patriots-Raiders game. Ramondre Stevenson. End of the game. They're tied. He takes off. That's great. Oh, great. Amazing. They're tied. Let's go. Josh McDaniels with the visor is going to lose. He, for some reason, pitches it back to Jacoby Myers, who then inexplicably throws it to former Patriot Super Bowl champion Chandler Jones, who stiff arms Mack in the face and takes it for the game-winning touchdown to beat his former team. I mean, your favorite guy, Josh McDaniels, gets the win. But this might cost the Patriots a playoff spot. That loss puts them outside looking in. Jacoby Myers, after the game, right away was like, I take full blame. But this is, in my head, I'm like, maybe it's not play calling, but it's discipline, right? It's what are we thinking? Where are we? Should Belichick take heat for this?
Well, listen, I don't know how the play was put together, right? I don't know if there's more that came out. I don't know what Bill Belichick said, but is this like that play where you just throw it around? Or was this just on him, right? So, they keep things tight internally. So I can't really call it. I just think that, if I'm in that situation, I'm not throwing the ball around. I'm not doing that. But Bill needs to stand up. Bill Belichick needs to stand up and address this and really be open and honest so the kid's not taking all the blame.
Ooh. The bigger issue is that it's uncharacteristic. I've never seen this before. Bill Belichick, even if it wasn't how they drew it up. First of all, it's a tie. Go to overtime. What are you doing? But how does the player not know? How are the players out there not prepared for this? That would be on.
Well, we've never seen this before, right? We've seen this play, this type of design before, where guys are throwing it around.
Yes.
But we've never seen it picked off and taking it to the house, right? Or it's not even a pick. It was like a fumble. I don't know. What is it?
It was a
How
pass.
does it show up,
It was
Andy?
a pass to Chandler Jones. That's what it was.
No, it was behind. It was backwards. So I don't even know how that shows up on the stat sheet. But anyways, what popped up for me watching this was how cool same game parlays are. Like, I know this is not because we're on FanDuel. But Kay, I gotta be honest, right? I gotta be honest with you guys. Never was a betting guy. Never was into it. Obviously couldn't do it when I was playing. But now that I'm, a retired athlete, I'm starting to learn because there's opportunities. Everybody knows betting is taking over the world. So now I'm forced to understand what all the hell this stuff means. So now this is my first time doing same game parlays. It makes the game so much more interesting.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. Because at first I thought, I was like, you know what? I'm an athlete and like the integrity of the game. I just want to root for my team to win. But now I'm looking at, can this running back get an anytime score? Can this guy go over 100? And it's like,
It's fun.
I love it.
And that's what it should be. It should be a little bit of fun. And I love that. And I love that you're hanging out with us here on FanDuel TV and that you and FanDuel have such a nice little friendship happening, which I love. Okay, one last one for you.
You got to teach me a little bit more.
I don't know anything. I
parlays,
I literally grounded myself from parlays because I'm so bad at them.
Unders, overs.
One last one for you because we have this. Super boosts. That's where it's
That's
at.
like Pat McAfee's thing. I don't even know what the hell a super boost is.
I've done them and they don't hit. So I grounded myself. I'm gonna do one this week though.
Just stick with do the same game parlays. Just do a 3-leg.
Maybe we should team up for one, Brandon.
Let's do it.
Since we're guest hosts together.
Let's
I want to
do
ask
it.
you one more before I know you have to go. The Jags dramatic overtime win. They're in it. They're doing their thing. There was a pick six. Oh, Rayshon Jenkins. Hello. They come back. They beat the Cowboys 40-34 in one of the best games of the year. They also pulled to within a game, if we look at the playoff picture, of the Titans for the AFC South lead after their loss to the Chargers. Now, Trevor Lawrence, he's been great. He's been on fire lately. What do you think has clicked for him?
Woo. This is hard. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know because he doesn't give us a lot. The coaching, right? Because this guy came in and he was he had the story around him that he was a once in a lifetime type of talent or once in a generation type talent, right? And then he came in and we didn't see that. There were some people saying that he was a potential bust. I mean, his feet looked terrible in the pocket. As far as accuracy, he was way off. I know early in the year, you had the coach come out and say, look, he's getting it now. He's starting to understand what we're asking him to do. So I have to say coaching, right?
That's what he said. Brayshawn Jenkins has that pick, and after the game, he asked, what's different this year? And he goes, coaching. That's what he says. And and by the way, the Jags might win the division because the Titans, they've lost 4 straight. They're in an absolute tailspin. And then I look at the other side, and Cowboys, I just can't trust them.
One last thing before we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the AFC side, we talked about the Cincinnati Bengals. You have the Kansas City Chiefs. You have the Buffalo Bills. On the NFC side, right, Cowboys still there. I know you say you can't trust them, but you have the Philadelphia Eagles. And who am I missing? The San Francisco 49ers, some really strong teams. But, Kay, looking at this weekend, my biggest takeaway was, hell, could the Giants make a run? You just talked about the Lions, right? There's some teams out there, even the Vikings. The Vikings sitting at 11-3. It doesn't feel like a strong 11-3 because this is a team over the last 7 games have given up, 300 and something plus yards in offense, right? Their defense has struggled. I don't think anybody, at the top was scared of the Vikings, right?
Right.
So I'm saying that because
there's always
you
a
have
team.
Who is the team? And then, on the AFC side, who is the team? Who is the team?
Well, you said it was the Commanders last week.
No, I did not. I don't.
Okay.
Taylor, why'd you tweet that?
Brandon Marshall, I Am Athlete podcast, FanDuel friend and guest host of Up and Adams. We love you. Thank you for taking the time this morning. Same game parlays. That's right. Don't bring up same game parlays. I hate the same game parlay. I'm cursed. Though I was at the Chargers game and they won, so I think my curse is broken. I do. Love seeing that. Welcome.
Oh, okay.
I don't have it in me to dance today. We had a bit of a holiday party on the Up and Adams show yesterday, and Hamilton flew in for it. What's up, Hammer?
What's up?
How are you?
I'm
what do you think
great.
of our studio? You've never seen it before.
I love it here. I love that I had that little box. I could be like the old men from the Muppets and just heckle you from the side. It's
great.
You
used to when we were on Good Morning Football together in our very first studio. We used to sit in a glass cage, I would call it.
Yeah, it was my little...
You legitimately sat in the glass cage, and I would just look at you, look behind Peter Schrager, and I'd be like, what's happening? Remember?
Yeah, and sometimes you'd be like, was that a good question? I'd be like,
yeah, you'd be like, All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here you are. Listen, we had a great time with Brandon Marshall. He ate up all the time on the show, as he happens and likes to do. But so much happened Saturday. Crazy game. So let's go over it. We don't want it to get lost in the shuffle. So let's start with Miami at Buffalo. Okay, I was told this was a SOT, but it's not. Here it is. This is some snow that was happening. Bills win a snowy Conrad. Beating the Dolphins 32-29. Miami now, my friend, has lost 3 straight. Darius Butler will be on tomorrow to talk about it, but are you worried?
I'm not worried. I think if you look at it, it was 3 high-quality opponents, and I thought the Dolphins actually played really well in that game. I expected the Bills to, I think everybody expected the Bills, especially given the weather, to kind of control that game. The Dolphins gave him everything they could handle.
Tua in Buffalo is not a good mix.
I know, but you saw it. I thought he played pretty well, and I liked how they got the run game going. I think that was a really critical thing for them. They rushed for the second fewest yards a game this year, and I think, we've seen defenses really try to take away the passing game and key on Tua and those receivers and really, go with a light box to try to take away the speed of this receiving core. So you have to be able to run the ball, and especially as the weather gets bad. And we saw Mostert have a massive game. They averaged 7.5 yards per carry on the ground. If they can get the run game going like this, and you saw it as that game progressed, it opened things up in the passing game. So if they can keep this running game going, I think it's going to get Tua back to playing the football we saw him playing earlier.
And he played well, right? He had bounced back, tough defense, all of that. Great. Threw 2 touchdowns, over 230 yards. But the defense gave up 32 points. That's the real worry here. They're getting their run game going. Tua maybe looks a little bit better. 26th ranked defense in the league this year. So that's a huge concern.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we've seen them, they make plays. They've come up with some big sacks at points, some big turnovers at points, but they can't get consistent stops. And, everybody loves to make everything about Tua, but I agree with you. I think that's the bigger concern right now.
What do you make of, I know the strength of schedule gets kind of nitty gritty, right? But we know what teams are and how good they are, and there's momentum and everything. So to get this, their 3 losses were against really high-quality opponents, the Niners, the Chargers, and the Bills. So they got the Packers, I think, next.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I think they bounce back. I think we saw them, they looked like the Dolphins on Saturday, the Dolphins team that we saw early in the year. I think they get back on track and take care of the Packers and make their way into the playoffs. I know Dolphins fans are getting a little nervous now because they're right on that playoff bubble, but I think they get in.
I'd like to see them in. Conrad, do we have an actual SOT here? Okay, great. Here we go. Let's lay out for a SOT for Minnesota.
Hey, y'all know it's good. I appreciate y'all support. Hey, I know we scared y'all in the first half, but stick with us. We're going to hold y'all on our back, and we're going to fight to the end. Y'all know it's good.
I mean, there was a 33-point Colts lead. I don't even know what to say about the sheer madness of this game. This was like one of the biggest comeback. Was it the biggest comeback?
Yeah.
In NFL history,
Yeah.
right? I don't even know what to say. I don't even have the question for what this was. What do you got?
I mean, it was remarkable. I mean, I landed. I had to catch up on it after because I landed here in LA, saw it was 33-0, and I'm like, how did this even happen?
Because Jeff Saturday was playing on a Saturday, said Twitter. It's true.
And then to see the comeback. But when I went back and I watched the film of this, you see how the Colts built that lead. It's not like they were like running up and down the field and Matt Ryan was playing amazing. It was a little janky. You had the punt block, you had the pick six. It wasn't like sustainable thing. They got a few lucky plays to kind of jump out to that lead, and that Vikings offense caught fire.
So it's more about that it was like fool's gold what the Colts did to because I asked you yesterday. I was like, What was the point? What was the momentum switch? And it didn't really exist, right? But the Vikings you say this to me more than anybody. The Vikings somehow keep doing this weird stuff, and we are always like, is this sustainable? Can they keep doing this? It's the 7th comeback win of the year for Kirk Cousins, who could never do this before this year. He's been so clutch down the stretch in games, and I guess it is sustainable. That's our answer.
Yeah, they keep doing it. If they can keep repeating it, then yeah, it's sustainable. We saw them do it to the Bills in that wild game. They just find a way to one-up themselves. But I think there were a few significant things to come out of this. I think seeing a guy like KJ Osborne emerge, they need a big play threat opposite Justin Jefferson. And Thielen isn't quite the player that he was. With Osborne being able to make big plays like that, it opened things up for Jefferson later in the game. It was really important, and if they could get consistent production there, it makes this whole offense more complete.
I feel like I slammed their defense a lot. I always have questions, but I mean, Eric Kendrick's going to be on our show this week. Great game. The defense made plays when they needed to.
Yeah, they did.
Finally.
I mean, you can't make that comeback if the defense isn't coming up with stops either. And
yeah.
They did a great job.
So they are in the 2 seed thanks to that epic comeback, historic comeback. So if they lost, the Niners would have jumped them, and now they have the Giants, they have the Packers, and they have the Bears to end the season. So we'll see what happens in the NFC. All right, let's hit Baltimore and Cleveland. The Browns beat the Ravens. It was 13-3, afternoon game. Kind of a good place to take a nap, potentially, on your flight, because it wasn't that riveting of a game. Ravens. By the way, Jacoby Brissett, anyone? Anybody missing Jacoby Brissett? No? Okay. Do the Ravens just miss Lamar, or are there other reasons to be concerned?
Well, I do think a lot of it is Lamar. I think when Lamar comes back, obviously it's going to be a big shot in the arm for them. And I think the significant takeaway from what we've seen the last 2 weeks is what J.K. Dobbins has done. You talked about it last week. He had 125 yards again on 13 carries. And he's still clearly not himself. Like, you see it when he gets into the open field. He just doesn't, that breakaway gear isn't there.
But he's not going to get better, right? That's the thing, because, you think he could get healthier?
He should continue to get healthier as he gets out there and gets back. He's going to be getting in better and better shape every week. They're kind of slow playing things with him. So I would expect him to keep this going.
Do you think the Ravens could still, we're not talking about them in there's the big three.
Yeah.
Right? Chiefs, Bills, which is, by the way, Bills, how impressive are the Bills that we're talking? their piece, their $126 million piece that they got to help them get over the hump and fill the need, the only void that they have. He's out for the season, but we have not moved them from our thoughts. How impressive is that, honestly?
That is really impressive.
With the Bills.
That
I don't
is
know.
really
Like,
impressive.
you lose. If they kept Jamar Chase out, one of their prime pieces, even though it's different, whatever side of the ball, we would not be talking about the Bengals in the same way we're talking about them. But the Bills lose Von Miller, and they're still bang right there.
It's true. It's true. And as for the Ravens being in that tier, they need to find some playmakers. I think we saw Lamar struggling for a while, before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think losing Rashad Bateman, losing some of these receivers, they haven't been able to really make up for it. And I think that's something that we need to watch.
Well, Bateman's on IR. They never replaced Hollywood. And by the way, here's the stats. None of them had over 30 yards receiving in this game.
Yeah.
So we've been saying for years, take a swing on a big receiver. Do I not talk to DaCosta all the time
You've
from
been doing
the
it for
New
3 or
York
4
Good Morning
years.
Football camera to this one on Up and Adams and my new show in LA? Make a big swing because a lack of investment in the wide receiver position is what is slowing this Ravens team down, and you hate to see it. All right, and that's why Lamar was having some struggles. Great job by you. Lots of fun at our holiday party. Want to know how much fun Hamilton was? He had the stupid phone in his face watching Game Pass the whole game. The whole time we're there, we're having fun. Not you.
Okay, I know we only have a little bit of time left,
What is so funny? I don't know what's happening.
but we got to get into this. Let's bring up the tweet.
Oh, God.
I mean, you look like a child
Here's what happened. No. Here's what happened. This is actually incredible.
meeting Santa Claus
This
for
is
the
the
first time.
anti-Joe Burrow. Could I be less cool? The game ends. I've had some shots. And Mick Hamilton, I run over there, and I'm acting like I'm their coach, smacking their butts. They're going to lock room, and I'm like, attaboy. Attaboy, go win me a Super Bowl. Hey, and and Derwin James is like, yeah, cool, lady, like, great. Like, like Austin Eckler's like, yeah. And I'm just like, yeah. I was so juiced. I was like standing on a stool. That's embarrassing.
There was a stool
Mike
there,
Williams,
which
though,
makes
ladies
it
and
more
gentlemen.
embarrassing because he looks like he's 5 times your size, and you are standing on a
That's
stool.
not what we're talking about. We're talking about just me being a fangirl. It was my first. I mean, I went to a Packers game, but they don't give you. It's not. This is rock star status. Packers game, you don't get anywhere near the guys, whatever. And I'm sitting there, and I'm part of the team. It was a win for me.
I'm happy for them, but I'm happy for you.
Unhinged. I'm so glad you had a good time. I'm so glad.
I had a great
I'm
time.
really glad everyone had a good time. Bye.